All right, I'm good.
All right, here we go. It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Brand new show this week. All kind of stuff going on in the real estate world and some interesting stuff. We'll talk about one good thing. You can see the summer numbers are coming in terms of new properties on contract, but I will say there's definitely some turbulence in the real estate market, not just here, but just nationally, with some crazy numbers, just seeing properties sit in the market much longer. A lot of properties aren't selling. We're going to break down some interesting numbers too that we did this week with my coach, looking at how many active listings there are in the entire MLS versus how many are actually going pending. And it's shocking for sure. And I'll talk about that, what the percentage is and how many of them are not selling. And so right now, having those details figured out and understood and the strategy right is more important than ever, but you're still seeing prices holding on pretty good. We'll break down those numbers. Last week we talked about the micro market numbers. We'll just recap the macro market numbers overall, but huge news also with real estate rankings for real estate agents across the country. It came out, the new Real Trends rankings. They're like been the top, what you call it, the go-to for the last 17 years in the real estate space. They're like the real rankings where they go through, they verify, they audit, they make sure everyone's actually numbers are legit. And those numbers are out. And we'll share that, how we stacked up, where we came in locally, where we came in nationally. And it's always cool to see those come out each and every year, especially to be in like a small market like Myrtle Beach and compete against the big boys in, big cities and giant metropolitan areas where they're, having just millions of people that they're selling to. And so we'll talk about that. Also, big news this week with interest rates, some drama unfolding in terms of what happened with Jerome Powell, his refusal to lower interest rates, and from the Fed, and obviously that indirectly affects mortgage rates. But recently, Mr. Polte, who's basically I think chairman of Fannie Mae, said that call for Jerome Powell to resign, and we'll talk about what that is. There's some big drama going back and forth right now on what's happening, but that's really kind of stalling the real estate market in a big way. And a lot of people are talking about it overall. Also had a real life story this past week with an attorney and why you need representation and nuances of having somebody represent you with your largest asset. And there's so many similarities between the legal piece and the court process and also between real estate. We'll talk about that as well. Also, we have an investment fund looking to buy properties, buying stuff, cash offer, fair price. We have multiple different options for people. We can do a traditional full retail strategy, which we're very, very good at. Obviously, one of the top in the country. And also we have a full cash offer program where we can pay through our investment fund that I run that has millions of dollars looking to buy property in the Grand Strand. Also looking to buy businesses that are service-based businesses like HVAC, plumbing, things like that. If anybody out there looking to sell, have them reach out to me and give me a call. And then lots of great stuff. We'll talk about some amazing success stories. And the last thing here, our team is looking to hire. We have full real estate school. We can get you licensed. We get you trained up. We have the absolute best training in the game. We have 5 different coaching companies that are training us, myself, and my team right now. And we will help make sure it's turnkey and help anybody that's hungry. All I care about is if you have a high desire to service clients at the highest level, obsessive in terms of giving great service, calling people back, being good. That's what our culture is about. And we'll talk about that in today's show as well.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Absolutely, Rick. And that's just something that this whole show is about. Why we do the whole show? Because the number one mistake that people make over and over is just thinking that all real estate agents are the same. It could not be any further than the truth, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, like I mentioned before, you have to make sure that you understand that when you're dealing with service-based business, The differentiator there is the people, and specifically how they execute. For example, right, if I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, or if somebody's suing me for something frivolous, like just happened this last week, it's important to make sure you have someone who is good and who understands the process. And I'll break that down in a second, that can make sure they control the variables that are most important to give you competitive advantage in the courtroom. And that's exactly what happened with us. And obviously it was dismissed very quickly. And that's something that you want to make sure that you have as well. And I'll talk about that in a second. But same thing with doctor, right? If I have a illness that's life-threatening, I don't just want the cheapest doctor or the doctor that's in a doc in the box down the street. I want the best doctor who specializes in that type of medicine, who is passionate about what they do, obsessed with what they do, and can help make that differentiation to help find me the cure I need, right? It's the same thing with anything. You do at a restaurant. You have great service some places, not so great service some places, right? It comes down to the commitment to excellence and how well do they actually execute when it comes down to the variables. What a lot of people don't realize, when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one is handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, property gets sold, and you have a competitive advantage in the process, right? It helps you sell properties faster, and also the properties get sold. And so what a lot of people don't realize is, looking at what's going on right now in the marketplace, like if you look at active homes on the market right now, there's, for every MLS listing right now, there's 12,350 active listings. That includes condos, land, and house, just at a simple one. Of that, only 3,120 are actually pending. And so you're roughly, what, a 10% of the properties that are listed are actually getting sold on a month-to-month basis. You do the math on that, average listing 6 months. Over 50% of properties are not selling. We did the math last week, where year to date, only 30% of the properties that have been listed this year have actually sold, which is crazy, right? And so you look at that in terms of what numbers are, and that's why the agent you choose matters. So not only do you have a 50+% chance the property doesn't sell, but if it does sell, you have the risk of leaving a ton of money on the table. We gave an example a couple weeks ago where a widow homeowner listed with this random agent who underpriced the house by like $200,000+, in my opinion, and cost them a whole lot of money. And so that's what matters the most. But when you take those type of numbers and look at how serious the stakes are here, it makes a big difference overall. And so that's something we'll keep looking at. If you take anything from today's show, just understand that the most important decision that you make as a home seller comes down to one thing only, and that thing is the agent that you choose. And that is because it has to do with how well that person execute on 118 different variables. Now, here's the problem. Only one agent cannot manage 118 variables on one listing, much less 5 or 10 listings. And so what most realtors do, the average realtor sells about 4 homes a year. That's not much to really eat with, much less spending marketing or do anything on your behalf or have any type of support. And so what they do is they just do the 3 Ps. They promise rule to get the listing. Number 2, they put it to MLS. And 3, they pray that someone else brings a buyer. And that's the reality of what happens. And so you want to make sure you have representation, of the absolute best representation overall. And that's just the key part of that. And just that quick example, I'll show you how there was a magistrate thing where someone sued our company. It wasn't a client of ours. It wasn't anything to do with us. It basically, we represented the seller last year on a condo sale. We sold it. The seller did seller disclosure. They put on the seller disclosure there was no assessments, and that way they closed in like December of last year. Well, they got this letter in January. It said that there's a new special assessment. And so they were saying that basically we should have known. I wasn't the agent, one of our agents was. But basically we should have known to tell them, which we didn't. There's no way we would have known. The seller literally filled out in the seller disclosure the day before the contract that there was no special assessments. And long story short, came to the magistrate. They represent themselves. And in 2 seconds, my attorney, who I hired, came in and destroyed them in about literally 6 minutes. And the case was dismissed, right? And so the reality was, details matter, the nuances matter, understanding the process matters. And so many people go into the same thing with real estate by not having, could my other main attorney say, you probably handle this yourself, no problem. But I was like, absolutely not. I'm never going to go into a courtroom without somebody who's a specialist, who understands that, who is phenomenal what they do, and who understands details. And they did that, had it dismissed in literally 6 minutes. And that was kind of the thing. And it was just such a shocking thing to realize, like, all these nuances that the common person doesn't know. And even the judge said, look, you guys should have probably had an attorney represent you. And the guy said, well, we actually went to 12 different attorneys and no one would take the case. And obviously that's because there was nothing there to do. And so it just goes to show that you have to understand that when you're dealing with your largest asset, the stakes are so high and there's so many nuances that people just make this thinking they do it themselves. And you can't. If you do, you cost yourself a lot of money when you're up against someone who does this all day, every day, and they create that competitive advantage. So when I got in real estate, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than just most agents put it to MLS and praying someone else brings a buyer. And the old school business model is broken. It's an old school cassette tape. We have basically an iPad Pro version that we built, and I've designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system to sell homes twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. We back it up with two main things: a large team of people with 25 plus agents who are all day. Like last 7 days, we made 12,500 plus phone calls just to our own leads in our own database, who are buyers looking to come to us and work with us, who are active leads. And so that's a massive amount of people that we have that can make those outbound calls that allow us to be able to match up buyers and sellers. Is just simply output that one single agent cannot do, right? And so we also back it up with technology that we invested multiple six figures in to make sure that we can have the algorithms, have the data to do one main thing: match up buyers and sellers and have the ability to create a predictable result for our client. And what we do is we stack the dominoes. And so when there's 118 different variables, we have each person specializes in each part of the transaction, so they know they can execute at the highest level, where a generalist is not very good at doing all those. It's simply impossible. And so that ability and the ability to outspend the average agent allows us to create much more leverage for our clients. And that's how, when I'm making 12,000 phone calls a week as a unit, and you have one of your listings with us, now you have so much more output that moves the needle, aka buyers, to see your property, look at your property, and potentially buy it. Obviously, we can't force them to buy it, but we can get them inside, and hopefully, they like it, right? And so if you want to know how that works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. For buyers out there, guess what? It's the same exact thing. It's your largest asset. Don't gamble with it by just going with the by yourself or the cheapest or the listing agent. Like, you need to have somebody who represents you, just like the example in the court case. You have to have someone who's an expert, who looks out for your interests and who knows the details. And so that example, my attorney there actually went and did the research and found out that there was no announcement of any special assessment or any amendments that had been approved by that point. By the time they closed, there was no way that anyone would have actually known. And so that was simple, but you have to have someone who understands those type of details and how to present those and how to navigate all the nuances that are happening in the process. And that's what we do for buyers in our unfair advantage home buying system. We get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as a home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully, and give you that competitive advantage every single time. And so the big lesson here is, like, look, this is your largest asset. The stakes are higher than ever. Do not make decisions with the wrong criteria. People ask the wrong questions, and they tend to go with a friend of a friend of a friend, some part-time agent they know, or the cheapest. And so that's not what you want. You don't have to get the most expensive, but you want somebody who brings the most value, so that you're not going to be able to be taken advantage of or leave money on the table. Because if you go with the cheapest anything, and that's your only driver, it doesn't matter what product you're buying, it's always going to be a bad outcome, right? If I want the cheapest BMW Myrtle Beach, I'm not going to have a good outcome, right? If I'm the cheapest stock broker there is, not going to have a good outcome. The cheapest attorney there is, not going to have a good outcome. The cheapest doctor, not going to have a good outcome. There's not one single product you can buy that you go the cheapest option that you're going to have a good outcome. But for some reason, that's the only thing people want to use when they pick an agent, right? And you can just pay the average cost or regular cost. We're not really more than anyone else for the most part, but you just want to make sure you're asking the right question, because you're dealing with something that's so large and largest asset. If you want to know how that works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. Also, a full detailed documentary about how we operate and what we do. You can go check it out at blakesloan.com. We'll take a quick break, right back in a second.
Hey, Sean Hannity here with the only real estate agent in your market that I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Thanks for joining me today. You know, a lot of people may be thinking about selling their home, but they want to make sure they're getting the most money possible. What options do you have available to make selling a home easier?
Hey, Sean, we have 3 unique, innovative options for home sellers right now. First, we have a program for maximum convenience, where I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars looking to buy homes at a fair price in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Trenton area. Or we have a program for maximum speed, where I can match your property up with over 100,000 plus active home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand. Or 3, maximum value. We have a proven system. They'll sell your home twice as fast and for the 5 to 15% more money than traditional methods.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Barber. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date. They can after your home or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new market update. All kind of stuff going on here we'll talk about. And some very, very interesting things going on in terms of ups and downs. And we're in a very, very, very interest rate driven marketplace right now. But the one thing I'm hearing from just my networks, I have huge networks I've been spending 20 years being part of and building and getting into and paying to be into for masterminds and coaching groups and the elite of elite, right? And everybody across the country is seeing just a lot of headwinds, right? Properties staying on the market much longer than they have been. Properties not selling in many markets, buyer resistance, buyer hesitation because everyone's watching rates. You can tell the economy is a little bit more challenging than people are kind of admitting and talking about in many cases, right? You're seeing some of the hotel stuff's down here, some of the travel's down. And so it's interesting marketplace right now where properties are just simply harder to sell. They're taking longer to sell. The agent you choose matters more than ever. But the good news is we're a seasonal marketplace and you always tend to see a bump in June and July, which is awesome. We're seeing that right now, right? We're a couple weeks away from the biggest week of the year, which is July 4th week. And so looking at the new properties under contract, we talk about two types of numbers in the show, right? The front windshield numbers. Hey, what's happening right now, real time? We've been tracking this since COVID. How many properties go under contract in a 7-day period? That allows me to have a real-time pulse on what's happening so I can advise my clients based on what's happening now, right? What the masses use, what most agents use, and what most people in the industry just use what they call the rear view mirror data, and that's what closed the previous month. But if it closed the previous month, it actually went under contract 30 to 6 days prior to that. And so you always want to use both because close are like, hey, here's what's closed, here's what things are worth, here's what's happening. But properties under contract shows you, hey, here's what's happening in real time right now and what buyer demand and buyer desire is. So in the last 7 days, been 527 properties under contract for $196,877,000, which is good, right? Anything around 200 million is smoking hot. Things are going good. Let's see, Thursday, it was at 551 and 211 million. So lots of big stuff happening. Some big time properties just here in the last 7 days, $4.3 million property on the ocean front in Surfside Beach, where I grew up. Another 1.99 million under contract, 10 properties over $1 million under contract, 110 properties over 500,000 under contract just in the last 7 days, which is crazy, right? The 1.99 was a waterfront, creekfront house on Creekside Drive in Mount Gilead. We had some buyers looking at that, and actually the market for like 120 days a minute. Our buyers wanted it. It went under contract before we could get in there. So it does happen. You do see that overall, but the long thing, the summer market is here. That's kind of the key piece of that. You're seeing a bump up, which is great, but it is taking much longer for properties to sell. And I do think you're going to see some of the data show that the data is kind of in arrears where if you're in a declining market, you kind of will see it slow down a little bit, but it's hard, right? There's a lot more inventory. Inventory has been the biggest challenge, just much more competition. You're seeing much more deals fall through across the country. That's one thing my coach is talking about this week, where there's a lot more deals that are falling through just simply because there's just more buyer resistance, right? More buyer fear, just fear in the marketplace. There's a larger gap between what sellers think their property's worth and what buyers are willing to pay. And so with that comes more resistance, which is why you want to make sure you have an expert who is very, very good at this and good at getting deals done and getting deals to the closing table. There's so many nuances, so many blind spots, so many things that can really trip you up in that process if they're not handled correctly and pre-framed through that entire process. And so that's just a key thing to remember right now. If looking at closed sales, they're on 2.6% from the same month last year. I'll tell you, it feels a lot less than that for sure, just being in real time, kind of watching what's happening. I do think we'll probably see it dip back down a little bit unless there's some relief from interest rates, which we'll hopefully see happen. Looking at sales price, down 4.1% for resale homes for median price. Average sale price down 2.5% right now at 507,000, but that's good. It's up significantly from March at a new low in March of 465,000. Then it jumped up to all the way to 507,000, which is a $40,000 increase just in 2 months. So great news here for home sellers. I've seen a price bounce back a little bit. Inventory is still rising like crazy. We're at 5.2 months. We're getting close to that potential buyer's market for resale homes, and it hasn't been like that for a long time. Inventory is up 26% from the same time last year, which is crazy. And the last time we were at 5.2 months, I got to go way back to my 10-year graph here, and that goes all the way back to looking at September 2019 was the last time we had this much inventory of homes. And so that's pre-COVID. You're seeing kind of get back to being normal, but it's very, very difficult right now because a lot of people still feel like we're in 2022 market, 2023 market, where there's only 1 or 2 months inventory, right? And so that's a key thing to look at. Overall average days on market right now, a little over 100 days. So it's taking 100 days on average to sell a property. And here's the thing you got to remember. That's of the properties that do sell. Over 50% of properties are not selling. And so of the basically less than 50 that do sell, they're taking 100 days to sell on average. So you want to keep that in mind when you're coming from a strategy standpoint, when you understand your agent standpoint of why you can't just list with anybody right now and expect that type of results. You got to have somebody who's investing money, who has the know-how, who has the skill set, because it's more really important than ever right now. Looking at showings per listing, the average listing on the MLS gets 3.5 showings the entire time it's on the MLS. It's down 16% from last year. It takes 12.9 showings to get a contract. So let's say 13, right? So you need really 3 to 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get an offer on it, which is why you're seeing so many properties sit there for so long and not sell, right? It's just simple math. Business is math, right? And so, and this one of my early mentors told me that, right, that math is the language of business. And you just got to understand of like how to take this and reverse engineer. How do I make sure that I get the movement to get more showings? Well, how do we do that? Well, we have a significant amount of buyers. We'll talk about that. And close to 80,000 buyers that we have. We make 12,000 phone calls a week as a team to those buyers to match up buyers and sellers. And that's how we're able to move that and be much more aggressive than just some agent who puts a sign in the yard and prays that someone else brings a buyer, right? Big difference there. Overall, the condo market, really quick, looking at those numbers, their sales down 16% last month. So significant decline there overall. Price has been holding strong, which is great. It's 0.0% change year over year, 240,000. So it's not declining, which is great. Right now, average sale price, 286,000, 0% zero change. We talked about on our team a lot. There are a lot of buildings that you're seeing significant decline in prices. Like some are selling for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 less than they have, last year. And so some of the data is skewed. You always want to look at building, look at area, look at zip code. It makes a massive difference in that. We're seeing a lot of new construction properties where people bought 2 years ago and they're selling the same brand new product for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 less from the builder, right? And so that's something that you got to keep in mind too when you have a strategy standpoint, when you have the agent standpoint. You want to make sure you have the right data in terms of how you're doing that. Supply of inventory for condos is up through the roof. It's at 8.8 months. It's up 37.5% from just last year alone. And so that means a lot of competition out there, much longer it takes to sell if it actually does sell, and just a lot more competition. Is purely a buyer's market out there. The average listing for a condo only gets 1.9 showings the entire 6 months that is listed. And the problem is you need 8.9 showings to actually get a contract, right? And so you need basically 4 to 5 times the amount of showings than the average listing gets to get a contract, which is why half of them don't sell. And the ones that do sell, it takes a long time to get that done. And so that's why right now, more than ever, it's a very difficult market, but the agent you choose matters. Me, I like it. Been in the game for 20 years. I started my company in 2008. We're great at hustling. We're great at making sure that we advertise very well, that we follow up very well. We're obsessed with what they do. I've been putting 12 to 14-hour days in lately in this marketplace to make sure that we continue to win and win at a high level. And so that's the culture that we have. That's who we are. If you want to make sure you get that differentiation, reach out to me. We'll explain to you how it works. The one wild card right now has been interest rate. Right now, rate's 6.87%. It's been bouncing around for really the last 2 or 3 weeks. Last week shows 6.85%. So it's decent, right? Not where we want it to be. But there's still a lot of people jumping in right now. 30-year fix, 6.87, 15-year fix, 6.13, a 30-year jumbo loan, 6.95%, a 30-year FHA loan, 6.41%, and a 30-year VA, 6.42%. And so if you want to know anything more about that, we're more than happy to share and update you and give you details on that. Give me a call, 843-808-SOLD. Quick break, right back in a sec with our Hot Buyers Alert.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both
Thank
know
you.
exactly what to look for to find
All right, here is the one.
tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy.
You'll have
Read
4
nearly
minutes.
750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune into those Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan, Real Estate Show, Hot Buyers Alert. Got all kind of stuff going on. Really quick, though, just to get time. I think we have 4 minutes left. Wanted to give a big shout out to our team. Like I mentioned, these national rankings just came out. They're doing 17 years been doing it. We like, I don't know, 15 years since we've known about it. We've ranked high as number 52, low as like 120, but they just came out, and that's called from the Real Trends, the top 1,000 agents, teams, and it's all across North America. They rank it by state, by city, and then by nationally, right? So it's awesome news. This is out of 1.6 million realtors. A big shout out to our team. Everybody works so hard. All the listeners who referred business to us, all our clients, past clients, are super grateful. We came in the #1 mega team of all teams and all agents in Myrtle Beach by a significant amount, which is amazing. Number 99 in North America, which is awesome. That puts us in the 0.07% of all real estate professionals in the United States, which is amazing. That's ranked by Real Trends in the Wall Street Journal. And so, again, why does that matter? It's the ultimate benchmark, right? It's the one that actually matters. Everybody has these awards they give out locally and, share it on Facebook for your friends and who can like it, whatever it is. But the reality is, like, when it comes down to brass tacks and numbers and who's doing the most business and getting their clients the most results, that's what matters the most. And we came in #1 in Myrtle Beach. So anyone else tells you #1, they're not telling the truth. They may be #1 in their mom's eyes or whatever it is, but not when it comes down to the actual data. We're #1 verified, and that's super awesome. Very proud of our team. Super shout out to them. I'm very thankful about that. You can check all that out on realtrends.com. But really quick, Hot Buyers Alert. My team working a ridiculous amount of buyers. We outspend the average agent 100-to-1 from a marketing standpoint, literally spending 6 figures a month in marketing. And so we have a tremendous amount of buyers right now. We have 78,811 active buyers, and those are real people, username, password, account, people who are looking to buy and sell here. And so the reality is, you're thinking about selling, reach out, call me. We have what we call buyers in waiting, and they're from all over the globe. And so what we do is we take your listing, we match up one of our buyers of the 78,811 buyers and match up to them, because I'm in business to make money, right? If I match up buyer and sell, that's what you paid us to do. That's what you hired us to do, not just put an MLS and sit back and play golf on Tuesday, right? You want somebody who's going to hustle and get the job done, and that's exactly what we do. And so big shout out, a couple quick success stories. Chuck, he owned a house in Little River, recently made a decision to move back home to Pennsylvania to be closer to family. He had already moved everything out of the property, already had new living arrangements, so he wanted to sell the property fairly quickly, but he wanted to get top dollar for it as well. Thankfully, he's heard about us for many years on this radio station. Big shout out to Chuck. He knew the only person to call was myself, Blake Sloan. We came in, met with Chuck, showed me he had hundreds of properties, hundreds of buyers that matched his exact property. I came in, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos. Within 2 days, had a full price offer on Chuck's property. He was able to move to Pennsylvania without any worry, and know he's put maximum dollar in his pocket. Also, Connie and Jason had a house listed in Surfside Beach over 6 months. They were trying to move Florida to be closer to grandchildren. Unfortunately, listed with a friend, had over 6 months, barely few showings, no offers. Thankfully, they heard about us on the radio, and a neighbor referred them to us. We identified the product marketing, came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtual walkthrough, drove massive traffic, had it under contract in less than 2 weeks. And so if you want to be the next success story, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or blakesloan.com. You can also go back and watch a documentary about us, who we are, how we operate, at blakesloan.com. We'll see you back here next week.